Hi all and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to be going over a couple ways to play every army and the basic tactics of them. Star Wars Legion has a lot of variations in the tactics each faction can pull from. I will be going over a kind of defensive and offensive build and breakdown for each of the four main factions. It's kind of hard to do it for all of them because some of them don't really lend the best to playing as defensively. I think Droids and Grand Army of the Republic are a little bit better when played more offensively, so I have two for them, but for Empire and Rebels, I got an offensive and defensive in there for you, and I'll still comment on some of the other types to play as well. This will not go into list building, just what units you can use as a core to build around when needed, and just kind of an idea or general direction or way to play those types of lists. The video is meant to give you a direction on where to go or just a general idea on how these factions can be played. The Empire Gun Line. The Empire Gun Line can be used aggressively or defensively depending on the situation. While running a gun line, it is best to wait for the enemy to come towards you. However, running things like Dark Troopers in the gun line gives a kick as well, and lets you be a little bit more push and aggressive. A good thing to keep in mind is keeping impact hits crits to be able to do anti-armor when building this. The Empire gun line has been a solid choice from the beginning of the game, and will probably continue to be. A great way to start off the gun line is by going with the Imperial Remnant Battle Force and building around that. It gives you a large variety to choose from, all of which are focused on the Empire and the suppressive firepower they can put out. It is also possible to run Blizzard Force as a gun line with their 2 squads of stormtroopers that can bring double heavy weapons. In general, you have a lot of options to just run a solid Imperial gun line. Your best bet when doing activation order is to try and activate something that can already shoot at the enemy. That way you can take advantage of a lot of the stormtroopers' buffs with aim tokens. And, if needed, push where necessary. The best part about the Empire gun line is you really don't want to be moving towards it. You want it to be moving towards you, and a good Empire player will always make you come to them first. With the Empire, a vehicle-based force is also possible now with the Tempest Force, as it is probably one of the most balanced and maybe even some of the best in the game. Bringing a variety of ATSTs and speeder bikes are not as oppressive as early Blizzard Force, and still a lot of fun to play as. Major Marquand is a great addition as well and gives you a fun, unique character exclusive to the Battle Force. And it is a very new list that can also be built to support more tactics with forward deploying scout troopers. While your choices are limited, I am still wanting to dive into Empire just because of Tempest Force. On paper, Tempest Force is what I love about wargames of this size. More vehicle-based, while still being squad and infantry-based and supportive. Even though I would probably say Legion is more of a squad-based game than a vehicle-based game, and it is kind of easy for squads to take care of vehicles as long as they're built right. That being said, running a couple of ATSTs that just have a dominating presence on the field, along with speeder bikes to flank the enemy, which you kind of want to hold them back turn 1 and 2, and deploy them when needed, or use them as nice diversionary tactics. Because the speeders are a little glass cannony. As well as having the forward deploying scout troopers, though, gives you a lot more options to mess with the enemy that they're probably not used to seeing. And you can still kind of use it as a gun line when needed. All in all, as a second idea and kind of tactics-based way to build the Empire, it's not a bad go. And starting with the Rebels, the Bright Tree Battle Force allows the Rebels to bring a very infantry-heavy force that allows you to play the Rebels in a more unique way. Having a solid infantry-heavy force of mostly Ewoks, supplemented by units with more impact and crit, is a pretty fun way to play. There is a lot of build variety, and having access to an ATST with the Chewbacca stat line also gives you a solid vehicle choice. Super happy the current meta supports vehicles as much as it is, because each of these factions has a vehicle-heavy one that they can go with. All that being said, one thing to keep in mind with the Bright Tree Battle Force is your Ewoks are going to suck against vehicles. That being said, you can bring enough Rebels, the axe-based Ewoks, their one command card that lets you do the trap. All of those lend to you being able to take care of those vehicle lists well, and it can kind of be hard to clear off all the Ewoks with just pure firepower, due to the sheer number of them you can put on the field. All in all, they're a fun and unique way to play the Rebels, that the tactics of which are still being explored, but I love the idea of it so much I had to toss it in here as a fun new tactical way to play the Rebels. Most of the tricks you're pulling are ones the enemies don't necessarily have counters for yet, and having so many models on the field really lends to a feeling of superiority on your side. Playing the Rebels with defensive emplacements, however, is a lot of fun. Initially, I did not like the defensive emplacement guns. If you go back and watch my video, I really said nothing good about them. That being said, I have changed my mind since going against them. Using the units from the Echo Base Defenders box set, you can make a defensive gun line and emplacement guns for zone control. This list has seen some success in tournament play, but is also a solid choice for casual play as well. You can get started with this list by just buying the Echo Base Defender box set. Having those two large laser cannon guns that the Rebels have, dominating fields of fire across the battlefield, is a big deterrent, and they hit hard. And they hit well. They're both anti-vehicle and anti-infantry. They have cool little upgrades with their generators. And this is another list where you can get approached by the enemy. It is also a decent counter to the Empire gun line depending on what the terrain looks like, because I know there are certain times when I play against people that they set up the terrain so there are these gun firing lines, which the Empire does not want to go up against when you have a couple of these. It also supports the Rebels being the kind who, dodge and move between objective point to objective point, sorry, cover point to cover point. And I don't know, I just really like the idea of this list. As far as playing it goes, being more defensive but still aggressive is a great idea. Keeping an eye on your Rebel vets so they can stay close enough to get pass along orders to your defensive emplacement is also a good plus. And that all kind of just supports and synergizes with each other in a fun way. Moving on to the Republic, we have our Mixed Arm Force. Using the release of Commander Cody, you can use a nice mix of vehicles and gun line. While not exactly competitive, it is probably one of the better vehicle-based lists in the game. I would say second to Tempest Force. This is not as good as Tempest Force, though. The clone supported by a speeder or just a tank is a very fun synergy, and just make sure to hold them back until they are needed. With Cody's cards allowing for activation of Republic vehicles, proper positioning of Cody around Republic tanks, their speeders, and their lighter tank is a good way to have a nice supportive Republic tank line, supported by Phase 2 and Phase 1 clones, along with some ARC troopers with their point drops. You probably get pretty far with it in most casual areas without being an oppressive list. This is why I love the Republic, is because there's a lot of fun, different ways to build and have fun with them. And if you made a list like this, it wouldn't require any lightsaber wielders to pull it off. Now going on to the Republic gun line. Bringing a lot of Phase 1 and Phase 2 troopers, along with ARC troopers, is always a solid best with the Republic. Bringing a dual Anakin and Obi-Wan list with a solid amount of fire support is a great way to show their friendship on the table, and a fun way to build them. Using fire support rarely and waiting for the enemy to come to you is usually a good start. They share a lot of the same tactics with the Empire gun line. However, the clones have a unique fun little thing called fire support, where when one clone shoots, if another's within range, you can add the dice pool to the attack. This allows you to focus fire down important enemies. However, be wary. Especially with the Republic, who usually have less activation lists, losing those activations to fire support better be worth the trade. Try to do it to enemies who haven't activated yet this turn when possible, so that way you losing an extra order token also coincides with the enemy losing an extra order token, making it so the enemy isn't doing 3 or 4 turns at the end of the round to just dominate what little is left of your force. I played against a Republic player who made this mistake, and oh my goodness, was it the most painful loss I have ever witnessed. And then I played against another Republic player who didn't use fire support at all, and it was still a painful loss, but I was rolling like a god that week, so, I wouldn't say that's the normal. Now that I've talked enough about the Republic, on to my Separatists. My favorite faction next Shadow Collective. Bringing a horde of B1s, a few Magna Guards, and an AAT is a fun and solid list that will allow you to control your activation order like no other army on the board. Being careful with B1 movement and making sure your line of order passing on cannot be stopped by just killing one B1 unit is always a good bet. Making your B1s control objectives so fire is focused on them is the best bet, while your better units deal damage is a good bet. Pretty easy. Use your B1s as chaff to control things, and keep back your tank and your Magna Guards to when they're most needed. That being said, don't just leave them in exposed positions where they can be shot down. My favorite thing about the Separatists is B1s and their AI. Being able to pass on orders to everyone, while also having an AI that is not necessarily the worst AI in the world to have, is a kind of good bonus. Most of the time you're going to be wanting to do at least one attack with B1s, and if you can't get the orders to them, then you're fine. Making sure your B1 movement and line of order passing on cannot be stopped by just killing one unit is unneeded here, though. Try to, checker pattern them out. So that way if one goes down, there's still 2 more that can connect to them. I like bringing 6 B1s, but I can live with 4. And passing those orders on to Magna Guards or the tank, and buying that upgrade for the tank to be able to pass orders on even more, is great. Also, bringing just a normal tactical droid or one of the super variants can sometimes just get you a free extra order or two depending on their abilities. Now on to the other fun way to play, and this also applies to almost any faction, is the double bounty. While the Empire is usually the one doing it, the Separatists can do it as well. The double bounty list is what it sounds like. Bring a core group of what your army is good at, supplementing it by bringing 2 bounty hunters. This does play a little similar to the B1 focused lists. However, with the support of 2 bounty hunters, you have a heavy amount of punching power and access to a lot of different trick command cards, giving you a lot more control of the rounds you play, especially with Cad Bane, who's a ton of fun to use. Bringing 2 bounty hunters is fun. And with Separatists and Empire, you have ways to screen them into protection, or just, make them not the most juicy wanting to hit target, and you have a group of people who are amazing at killing things, and get you extra victory points if they kill what they're hunting, and take the token and live till the end. This is a good way to have the potential to score 2 more points for every single game mode you are in, and it is one of the main reasons you want to bring this. All the other tactics for all the other armies who bring a double bounty in apply. Just know that the main reason people bring this is because the bounty hunters are usually pretty good, and the extra points they can maybe get you is too sweet to not take sometimes. And now for the final thoughts and wrap up. This is just a small amount of tactics that each faction can actually use. I think tactics is probably the wrong word here, but I couldn't think of something better to use, so I hope this gives you ideas or helps you bring together a buying list of units to take if you're new to the game, or just kind of points you in the right direction. In reality, this list and this whole thing is just meant for newer players. These are more ways the factions play, and I know I made the, earlier video, but now that I know so much more about the game and have a wrap up of the current meta, I figured this would be another good video to make. I hope if you're a veteran player, you learned something new or just found fun to hear the insights on the game. I hope all of you have a wonderful weekend. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you all next Saturday.